technical in line. Hopefully, that'll work. So what I'd like to do is call to order the city council meeting of Tuesday, January 27th. And as is tradition, would you all please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America, and to the republic nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I start with the roll call of the officers, please? You have to be loud. Here. Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
All right, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I move to accept the agenda as presented. I'll second.
All right, I heard a motion from Councilmember Ronnie and a second from Councilmember Daniels. And then just a reminder, the acoustics in here, everybody's gonna really have to use their out loud voices today. Discussion at the table. I don't think we had anything, just so that the audience is aware. If you look down, if you picked up one of the copies of the minutes as you came in, you will note that says if there's anything that has to be addressed at the same meeting, we specifically flag it. And that gives council the opportunity to say, no, this isn't an emergency. Failure to plan on your part doesn't constitute an emergency, and then choose to put that off. Otherwise, what will happen is before anything ever comes to the agenda for action, it will go through the work session, which you'll see is the bottom half of the agenda, number 9, if you're looking at the agenda. And then once council feels it's ready, then it will move up to the top of the agenda item for action. Okay, so just to call that out as you watch and monitor the agenda in the future, as I'm sure many of you will continue to do. That's what that is. Any other further discussion at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Al?
Yes.
Daniels? Yes. David? Yes. Ronnie? Yes. Rude? Yes.
The room downtown that they're having this in is packed.
Hold on, let me make sure, if you're online, would you please go ahead and mute your mics, we're hearing somebody chatting. Bonnie, do you have the ability to see him and mute him? All right, motion passes.
We did
I didn't finish, sorry, finish the roll call.
Yes.
That's all right, keep us in line, I appreciate it. Now, has everybody had a chance to weigh in? I have 6-0, motion passes. Obtain a motion for the minutes of January 13th, 2026.
I move to approve the minutes of January 13th, 2026. Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronnie, a second from Councilmember Rude. Discussion at the table. Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Daniels? Yes. David? Yes. Ronnie? Yes. Rude? Yes. Ruben? Yes.
6-0, motion passes. Mayor's comments. Let me pull up my notes and see if I can get through my notes here. As you saw, we were fighting technical issues, so I hope my notes are current and up to date and I'm making my way through it. First off, a thank you to the Elks for hosting this meeting. My gut told me that we were likely going to exceed the 40 capacity that we have the ability to handle at City Hall. So I reached out and was looking for neutral venues where we could have this meeting. And the Elks graciously agreed. So thank you to them for doing all the setup for us and having this ready. Along that note, there will be an open bar. It starts after the meeting. Okay. There was some discussion there about what was best. So when the meeting is done, and in fairness, if the meeting goes faster than anticipated and folks want to wander out and have a drink on the way out, that's going to be okay too. Just don't come back into the meeting. If they won't let you leave the area without alcohol, but don't come back to the meeting after you're drinking. Number 2, thank you to the public for public attendance. So take a moment, if you have not silenced your cell phones, please take a moment to do that. Also, this meeting is available online. and is being recorded and will be available on the website. Generally give us 48 hours to make those meetings available, maybe sooner, but that gives staff an opportunity to get those posted. Just an additional comment, please remember to maintain proper decorum at all times. There are copies of the agenda in the back. I printed off 75, so if they're all gone, you may have to share with somebody. And there are some notes for public comment on the back of that. Okay. Mayor's comment. This is an opportunity for me to kind of update the council on homework assignments they have given me, as well as other developments in the city. We did receive word today that the city was awarded the $65,000 grant from the Downtown Main Street program for the Roosevelt Outdoor Space Project. That they are a subrecipient. The city is the recipient of that grant. And for those that monitor that, we are working to make sure all of those Main Street grants are, the city has recently kind of become the center focus point of the Downtown Main Street program. And so as those grant opportunities come in, currently we are making sure they get forwarded to the Red Lodge Business Alliance and also the Chamber. We're also working to make those posted online just as they come in very quickly and there. So that's stuff that is particularly tied to the downtown business district as defined in our downtown master plan, which is online. I have just kind of a quick question for council. In your notes or in the handouts that you guys received tonight, there was multiple handouts, and it was kind of done in 3 stacks. It was action items, stuff that was specifically kind of late submissions after the packet went out related to the ice. And then stuff that is what we call below the fold, which is the work session, stuff that's not up for action tonight, but is working its way to that. In there, you will see a sign for the tennis complex. We had kind of talked a little bit about this. This has been through our planning department, and Brian has looked at it, and they have indicated that it does not meet any requirement that triggers anything other than an approval to do so. My question from the council is, I feel like I'm okay just approving that and telling them they can put this sign up at that location. But you know me, I tend to seek forgiveness rather than ask permission. So I'm just kind of looking, am I okay to tell them to move forward and put this sign up to help them with their fundraising? Or do we want to put it on for an action item and have it be a future resolution by council?
I don't think that
It's good. Okay, my feeling was that I was okay giving the approval, but like I said, I wanted to dot my i's and cross my t's. On this side of the table, am I hearing go forward? All right, I will relay that information onto them and have them work with Brian to get that sign up there. Just a heads up, there is a pending water rights sale that several folks have raised an awareness to. The city is aware of that and has reviewed that and does not feel it's going to impact our city water rights or drainage or anything. Basically what happens is all the seepage that fills all of those who are getting water levels out of that comes out of the bottom of the ditch, not the top of the ditch. So the fact that somebody's selling some water rights was that it didn't impact the city at all. The grant that the foundation has, which is peripherally tied to the presentation we have tonight. They have a 5-person selection committee that is reviewing the RFP. That's the company who's going to go through and work with all of those projects that have been identified. The city is going to have 2 representatives on there. I have asked Brian Hanna from staff to be on that position, and also Roger Mullendorf, who's the head of our parks, to be on that RFP selection. So that's just helping select that. I think that's something that will happen within the next month or so. All right. The other thing, and probably that's a good segue into it, there is a couple of items that I want to make sure are not getting confused. In just a moment, I'm going to turn the time over to Red Lodge Ice, and I believe Tom is going to be presenting there. And he has actually opted to include a couple of folks who are going to offer some additional insight into that. and then we'll go into the public comment area. I kind of arranged that beginning just so we can do that. I want to draw a distinction between the two elements. There is the individual projects, of which Red Lodge Ice is one of those projects, that falls within the city's purview, and that's what we are discussing tonight. The grant is a funding source that is related, but at the same time independent and not there. So we're not talking about that. That's not the city's purview. The other thing that I want to clarify right up front, and hopefully a little bit came through as we talked about how the agenda works, just so the public is aware, the possibility that council is going to approve anything tonight moving forward is absolutely zero. What we have tonight is a presentation from Red Lodge on what they're looking at and what they're proposing, bringing before the council after hearing a lot of the community input. That was that purpose of that meeting that the foundation had back in November, was to start a community dialogue. Check, that was successful, right? I'd love to figure out a way we can do that in the future without quite as much gap.
Measure.
But I think that has been
Yeah,
very
I heard
good.
that. Yeah.
That has been very good at starting a public conversation. So just to kind of set and manage expectations, there's going to be a presentation tonight. Following that presentation, council, specifically those at the table who have taken the opportunity to sign up and run for office and serve you as a community, will have an opportunity to spend a few minutes in asking for questions and or for clarifications. After that point, we will go to public comment, and I'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. I have elected to let the public comment take as much time as it needs to. And I'll talk a little bit about the rules as we go into public comment. What's next after tonight will depend a little bit on what council's questions are and what council indicates afterwards. Based on what we have had with other projects, I anticipate it's highly likely they will reach out to the Parks Board and request a recommendation on their input on how to move forward. The discussion of the ice rink will show up in the bottom half of the agenda, down under the other council business, at least once. And that is where council talks about all the plans that are there. I anticipate at this point probably what it'll be is what we call a design MOU that says, yes, we have your blessing to go out and pursue spending some money to design or engineer something for a particular site. That will happen at least once, possibly more. When council deems that they're ready to move it up for action, it will then move up to action at the next meeting, and then we'll take that action. So guaranteed at least 2 more meetings after this before any decision is made. And the public is welcome to attend all of those and have public comment at all of those, however many that takes until we get to that point. But I just kind of wanted to set and manage expectations of what looks like after tonight. Like I said, the possibility that there's going to be a final decision tonight is an absolute zero. Okay. With that, council, first off, is there anything else that I was supposed to do some homework on that I failed to collect and get there? With that, what I will, let me tell. Oh, I'm going to decline that. I think that's something just going to the meeting. And that's something we do from that we are working on utilizing Zoom's capabilities to make sure we can put up full transcripts and AI summaries of the meetings to help get minutes up more quickly after meetings. And that's in our standing committees as well. That way you can go in and review that and say, oh, I want to go watch the recording starting 27 minutes in. So I'll make that a little bit easier there. Did I get to this side? Nothing. So hearing that, what I'm going to do, Tom, if you want to stand up and give your presentation, and again, just a reminder to the audience, decorum, please. You will have your opportunity to speak later, but I don't want anybody interrupting any speakers throughout the presentation tonight. Tom, the floor is yours.
All right. I will try and use this mic here as I do this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Just gonna get plugged in and get my.
And I realize you're addressing the council, but speak loud so the people behind you.
Yeah, let's try and hopefully this mic will
It's working now.
help that. Usually, most people don't complain that they can't hear me. I'll make sure the Zoom mic's in the right place as well. And I think I'm ready to go here. So again, thank you for the opportunity for this presentation. I know this is, a little bit different in that the council has received a plethora of public input prior to any presentation. So we are aware of all that public input, and so the presentation will take into account some of that public input and why I elected to been working with Don Kinney and Richard Gessling as well, and I'll give them a moment to speak as part of this presentation, so we get both sides of the view here in and as part of this presentation, so the council gets as best a view as possible as to what what the issue is and what the alternatives may be. There's a little bit of a delay, so if I hesitate after I hit the button, I apologize for that. But we'll go through the purpose of today's presentation, and I'm gonna, the mayor's asked me to move quickly, so I'm gonna take a little bit of shortcuts where I can. And but I do just want to start with a little bit of information, because I think maybe everyone's not aware that the Melville Longhorns hockey team did defeat the Red Lodge Wildcats 5-2 at the game. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of that game. It was held on March 10th of 1939 at the Red Lodge Ice Rink. So Red Lodge has a big history with ice skating and ice rinking. And from the Carbon County News and the Red Lodge Daily News, Sports Carnival draws big crowd here on Sunday. Estimated 400 watch racing and fancy skating events. And inaugurating the Red Lodge skating season, it's really hard for me to read this and I don't have my glasses, so I apologize. But inaugurating the Red Lodge skating season, this year's events of the Red Lodge Winter Sports Carnival will run off here Sunday afternoon before a crowd of 400 spectators at the city's skating rink near the Northern Pacific Depot, under the auspices of the local Carbon Post number 17 of the American Legion. Featuring the Ice Carnival was fancy skating expeditions by Ray H. Schultz, holder of several Canadian and American titles, and by Ben Packsaddle Greeno, as well as old-time rancher and Red Lodge vicinity and well-known Beartooth mountain guide, and his daughter, who I'm sure you will remember, Alice. Alice Greeno, better famed for the champion woman bronc rider of the world. Greeno, who is nearing 70 and who managed the first ice carnival ever held at Red Lodge, can I read it up there? Red Lodge won acclaim for the crowd for his expeditions of old-time twists, whirls, and blades. Despite his advanced age, he showed remarkable grace and speed. Alice Greeno appeared in combination expedition numbers of fancy skating, both with her father, Schultz, and seemed as much at home on the ice as she does in the saddle. So I read that partially to highlight the history of skating at the Red Lodge Ice Rink, held in the depot, but more really to show how much of a history Red Lodge has with ice and ice skating. One of our most famous residents, Alice Greeno, did just what I did, or my daughters did with me, learned to skate with her father at the Red Lodge Ice Rink. And so this history goes back 100 years of families learning to skate in our community. And this picture from Merv Coleman says that not only did that happen, that was 90 years ago, but this demonstration of fancy skating that Merv organized on the ice rink, and he spent the time to help make sure that ice was available for people to see and skate on. Is very similar as to what the Greeno family did back in the 30s. This is a picture of Lions Rink from the photo at City Hall, and it shows what Lions Park looked like in the 80s. About the time that Merv took that, this is obviously a summer picture, about the time that around where Merv was working. You can see the ice rink in that photo. And, over the years, since the park looked like it did in this, there has been lots of improvements. There's been lots of improvements in both ice skating and general park usage. They have basketball courts and volleyball courts, as well as our community playground that sits there. But lots of improvements to the ice rink. They dug out a dish so that we could fill it with a hydrant. They installed fire hydrant just for filling the ice rink. There's a fire hydrant for actually fire protection across the street. Over time, the council built public bathrooms. They built a locker room, warming hut, as well as facilities, and installed lighting to help improve the park. And the park has been, a center for family and activity and ice skating for many, many years. And it's why I'm involved in this, is teaching young kids to skate. I started doing that 20 years ago when my kids were young, and continue to do it today. In fact, at our first skating thing, we had about 70 people. It was about 40 kids and then families that came out to skate for Learn to Skate on a Saturday morning. Current conditions and challenges, and really this is a lot of why we're here to talk about this, is that uneven bowl design that to create a pond makes entry and exit onto the skating rink very difficult. It's not as level as it needs to be, and those slopes create safety and accessibility problems. It's highly weather dependent right now, and it has a short season. The season can anywhere be from 2 to 3 months. Snowballing before the ice freezes can destroy the ice. You can see that in this picture. What happens is the snow lands on the ice. The snow's actually heavy, and it pushes the ice sheet down, and water comes up from the sides and fills in the ice. There's no ability for access for a Zamboni to resurface the ice, and the ice contracts and creates dangerous skating conditions, and the ice quality can be poor. And the current lighting creates glare and light pollution that extends beyond the rink. We'd like to be able to improve that. The City of Red Lodge Comprehensive Park Master Plan that was pushed out in 2000, developed in 2015, contemplated continuing improvements to the ranking. In fact, the lighting improvement that was mentioned in there has happened. That's the lights that exist in the rink. There has not been any improvements to the warming hut, and the Park Master Plan in 2015 lists a concrete slab in the depression area as an improvement to the ice. There's lots of other cool things in that we have accomplished, like it wasn't even actually specifically listed there, but we have a pool now. That they list the challenges with the pool. We've developed pools. So there's lots of things in this park master plan. We have really, when you read through it, realize how far we have come. But there's clearly items that we still need to work on. Key improvements is to maintain and improve a multi-season recreational footprint while continuing to preserve Lions Park green space, regrading it, leveling it, building a Zamboni garage, and then installing a chiller. That would kind of be the phase one piece. Phase two would be installing a concrete slab. There might be an opportunity for mats in there, and we have looked and spent a lot of time trying to figure out how mats could work on top of grass or on top of the park. And what our research has shown is that mats can be a good solution, but ultimately most rinks that use mats end up with concrete. And so in this process of working with the folks who are interested in the park, we wanted to be genuine in saying we didn't want to propose something, because at one point we had a proposal that didn't involve concrete. But we thought that proposal would be disingenuous because we think we would end up with concrete at some point and need concrete. And that will come into play in the second part of this as we talk about alternatives too. Why Lions Park? Lions Park has been the historic place for the ice rink as we show for 100 years. It is walkable. It's near downtown. We already have built out infrastructure of restrooms and a warming hut. It's close to the playground. People, kids, families, they can, walk over to the IGA. They can get a candy bar or a soda. They can walk down to Subway and get a sandwich. Grandma can go gamble if she needs to. It's all really close, right? It's all right there. You can go get some tacos across the street. And as the Arts Guild will tell you, when there's things going on at the ice rink, their business booms. And so they appreciate that traffic. This is a rendering, and I think just to mention here is that this is a concept picture that was developed, but the planning, part of the grant, that pilot tourism grant, part of what it would do is help us develop planning so that we could have more detailed and actual plan. So this is just concept. It's not a plan. And I think that's important to just mention of what the park looks like in the winter for skating and how it can look in the summer in terms of improved atmosphere, with fire pits and things that can be easily maintained and enjoyed by the community. And maintaining green space in the park is important, even with the concrete slab, but the concrete slab would have huge benefits for things like the farmers market and the Arts Guild in providing handicapped accessible level surfaces for use in the park. Generally, this plan aligns with the growth policy, which is important. It has a fair amount of community support, and we'll talk about some community opposition as well. But the folks that use Red Lodge Ice, people are skating on that ice rink when it is there and working all the time in the winter. And by improving the rink, we'd be able to extend the season from early November into late February, early March. The sun does start to become more powerful and it becomes less advantageous to do it. But the early season is actually relatively easy. And because of sun angle and things is very workable with a chilled rink system. So, the Lions Club, the Arts Guild, the Business Alliance, the Farmers Market have all, are encouraged by the prospect of having improvements to the park. As a result of the public meeting we had, we got a bunch of public feedback, both positive and negative in terms of this concept and this plan. Longer skating seasons, improved ice quality, improved off-season economy by having more for people to do in November, December. Our payroll in our business in Red Lodge Hospitality is a little about less than 40% in November of what it is in July. And so, our community sees a lot of that, and that affects the people who work and live here. We have 140 employees, and so you can do the math on what that a 40% reduction in business means to a big portion of the people who live and work here, and that's just with one business group. I guess let's say that. But the major concerns, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a future slide, but neighborhood compatibility was heard here, uncontrolled growth, loss of green space, and increased park usage, traffic, speeding, and parking. Some neutral requests about more visuals, considering alternate locations, and a desire for transparency. Looking at the community concerns, a lot of the green space with this plan and with the concrete slab, a lot of the green space in the park would still exist, and we would be able to actually enhance it with a little bit better landscaping, and being able to have a level park, better accessibility. There is no proposal for a roof, and there is no desire for a roof. Having open air skating is really, really critical, because it actually differentiates us from other places. And it also, provides a lot of the outdoor atmosphere that Red Lodge is known for and people appreciate. We looked at a variety of alternate locations for this. Airport Road and Highway 78, which I will talk more about. Field School Park, which is a viable location, except you would have to remove the tennis court that exists there. And in the analysis of it, felt like we're just trading one piece of green space for another, or one park for another. And Lions Park already has built-in infrastructure. at Field School Park, you'd have to rebuild the infrastructure. Coal Miners Park, because of the nature of other uses that happen in that park and competing uses, as well as the fact that it's built on a coal slack pile and a dump, Public Works highly or basically said it's not an option for the rink. The Eagle's Nest, again, it'd be a beautiful spot for the rink if the city could acquire it, but it would also be a better spot for additional green space. You know, it would next to the creek. You know, if you're going to put we cannot build anything on the Bastion property that the city just acquired, and the reason for that is part of the agreement in acquiring it with FEMA funds is that nothing can be built on that property. So because of the way the flood flows. So Rodeo Road, which we looked at as well, you know, there's just no infrastructure there. There's no water, there's no sewer, there's no power. There is space there, but again, and it's also used for parking and events it goes against the Airport Road one and doesn't win out. Civic Center parking lot was looked at. It's just not big enough. It's not, there's physically not enough space there. All right. So we also established and looked at it in an alternate location to provide, something to consider here. And this is the corner of Highway 78 and Airport Road. And this is a piece of land that basically was orphaned by the moving of the road. It actually technically used to be part of the airport. It is still zoned as a public P1A, which is public airport. But it, is no longer connected with the road. I apologize if this is flashing. I think it's the,
The internet or something.
yeah. I think it's actually the HDMI thing, but, and so, this is a viable location for the ice rink. It needs some work. If we did this location, we could design and develop a new multi-season recreational area there, extend water and sewer and power to the site. It exists close by. Regrade and level the area. It actually is manageable in terms of its grade that exists there. Install lighting with low glare focused fixtures, install a concrete oval, improve parking and walking paths, add trees, shrubs, and make it nice. And again, be able to keep an open air skating tradition. So this location is beneficial. In comparing the two, Lions Park is central to the heart of Red Lodge. It is it's been where the ice rink has been for 100 years. It's walkable and connected to downtown, and it has significant distributed parking infrastructure that exists already. And it would improve accessibility for things like farmers market, art in the park, fun run, festivals, those kinds of things. There is community opposition to the installation of a concrete slab in the park as a negative. There are neighborhood concerns. There's no space for expansion of the rink. There would be a loss of green space in that park. There's limits the space for other park users and increased winter park usage and traffic. That's kind of the opposition that we've heard for that location. And I know you've heard the same thing.
Thanks for saying that, folks.
Yeah. Well, we really have tried to listen and tried to be able to encapsulate this in a way that makes sense and brings in the community input. The Airport Road has some benefits. It is currently undesignated land. There's a lot more room for expansion. Boards could be permanently installed. So you could set a concrete pad with boards, and a lot of communities do that. And then there's summer uses as well. But essentially, you have the rink set up. So when winter comes, you grab the hose, you spray it you turn on the cooler, you let it cool down, spray it with water, and you have ice. And when the season's done, you turn off the cooler, and if there's not other competing uses in there, it melts out. And in the summer, you can do roller hockey, you can do basketball, you can do pickleball, you can do all kinds of things in that space. And so it provides, it still has the boards around it, but it provides opportunity there. There's significantly less effort for setup and takedown because of not having competing uses. We wouldn't have to take it down so it had that summer aesthetic. So that would be a big advantage, because one of the reasons you look for the concrete is you look to the concrete to make this quick, easy, and efficient. One of the real big challenges with mats is you need to be toting around all the mats, 2,400 gallons of refrigerant that has to go in it. And, it's just a lot of work for setup and takedown, which is great sometimes, but it takes a lot of energy and effort. And as we know, if it's easy, people will do it and use it. There's mountain views, there's less user conflict, and there's multiple opportunities for summer recreation. Challenges of this site is there's a lack of infrastructure and will require some more funding. It would be more expensive to do it there. It would require significant parking infrastructure. Downtown, people can park in all kinds of places. You can park at the Elks Club and walk to the rink. It makes sense. Up there, you would actually need to develop some parking. But White Avenue is long, or it's Airport Road at that point, I guess. So there is the ability to build parking into that. But again, there's some cost to that. It's more exposed to the wind, which is a disadvantage in Red Lodge some days. And it's disconnected from downtown businesses. And I'll make the comment that my daughter said to me when we were talking about this location, and she said, a rink that you can walk to that doesn't have ice is not nearly as good as a rink that you have to drive to that has ice. And so if there's it's a little philosophical, but the piece is that if the community can get behind a different location and we can have ice in November, that would be better. So we offer, we think it's an alternate location to consider. It does have disadvantages. So we still advocate that the Lions Park is the better location, but this is a very good, viable location. There's multi-use benefits year-round, reliable, and this doesn't matter what you choose, right? So the idea is we're choosing a rink, and reliable longer skating season, youth hockey, figure skating, open skate, tournament capability, family-friendly winter tourism, roller skating and community events, level safe service for multi-generational things. That works wherever we go. I'm going to pause for a second and let my learned friends here have a few minutes of my time to hopefully not break something to speak, and then I will come back.
Good evening. I'm Richard Gessling. As a former member of the Red Lodge Lions Club, I worked in the park 35 years, mowing, pruning, planting, and removing dead roots. You have my letter that I put in your book folders. It's more about numbers and costs. And now I want to talk about how I feel about putting concrete in Lions Park. The park is used year-round with a concrete pad larger than the current rink. The use of that area would not be used as it is for summer use playing games, frisbee, catching, kicking, balls around. That concrete pad would only be used, if at all, for 4 to 6 days a year, as the grass surface could be used all summer. When Tom Coons met with Don Kinney and myself, he suggested the need to redo the entire south end of Lions Park. The possibility of using a bulldozer to contour the park if a concrete permanent ice rink is used. There would also be a need to be buildings to add to this project, though, if there was a concrete park skating rink there. They would need a building to hold the chilling units. Each one weighs 10 tons. That would be more concrete in the park, in a building in the park. The Zamboni would also need a building, and it would also be in the park. So that's not been any part that you see in their plan. A seasonal ice rink, one that is only present during the skating season, removed for the summer use with the grass surface would not radically change the park's summer activities. The seasonal ice rink could be leased for the season from a company who would deliver it, set it up, and remove it by the company, and the chilling units would be kept on the flatbed of that truck that delivers all those products. So that would not necessarily need a concrete pad that would hold a 10-ton chilling unit. People don't understand how heavy these things are and how much power they use. So I strongly support using this park as an ice rink if it has a seasonal skating ice issue and not a concrete pad. Please take into consideration all of the costs, and the resort tax was passed based on supporting city infrastructure. Myself and Rod Bastian wrote that resort tax that passed finally. The first 2 times it didn't pass because most of the revenue went to Red Lodge Mountain. That's why it failed. And we decided, no, it's got to go to infrastructure of the city of Red Lodge. And that's how the people passed it. And that's the way they still feel today. So why change the focus on changing the park in this way when other locations are and will be more suitable, and not change the nature and use of the park with a concrete pad? The city council and the parks board needs to locate an ice rink in an area that will not adversely affect and change the park forever. Concrete is forever. Concrete, if allowed in the park, the park will change forever, and not in a good way. And since Tom asked his daughter, I told my daughter about it, and she said, why destroy that park? And she lives in Atlanta where they use seasonal ice rinks. So she knows all about it. Anyway, thank you very much.
I'm Don Kenny. Can you hear me? Hi. I've given the council a big pack of everything that I think is important to the city. A lot of it was Brian's stuff. Brian did one hell of a job, a great job. And read it, understand it. He said, basically, the best site is what the one Tom just talked about, but no concrete. Never, ever did he say that concrete would be a good thing. So I will proceed with my actual statement. Richard Gesling and I have been working with Tom Coons for weeks, trying to come up with a solution that we would agree upon and that we thought would be acceptable to the city council and the citizens of Red Lodge. In short, we could only agree that an ice rink will fulfill the basic requirements of the tourist grant by increasing participation of skaters on a rink wherever it is located. However, a location could not be agreed upon by the three of us, obviously. Tom is highly in favor of using the existing Lions Park. However, he would not agree to the provision to if you could just use it and not put in concrete, good on us. Everything's good. And the mat system would work. I don't know. He said a lot of things that I don't have down, but I want to try. Therefore, we started to see if there are other sites were available, and the three of us that could agree on. We used the site criteria by Brian to develop by talking with other Montana, Idaho communities that have ice rinks.
Just listen to it.
Montana's preference for the city-owned property at the intersection of Airport Road and the State Highway 78. At one point, Mr. Coontz and he did it again, and I said that to me that would be a good site. There are many other possibilities in the city that has utility, the size, the utility, and the ability to accommodate an ice rink. They're all over. The one which I personally would provide is that would meet all of Mr. Hannah's suggested criteria is the north side of the Veterans Civic Center building. If you remember, there's a whole bunch of concrete in there and a whole bunch of asphalt in there. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. There, you can put in a concrete unit like he wants. No problem. It's there now. And if it's designed right, and engineered properly, talking with people in the know, which I have done, people that build these things all the time, we really have to engineer it properly. But it would, in the summertime, or out when the season is gone, people could park on the park. Use it as a park, I mean, a parking lot, like it is now. All right. But anyway, I really think that my brothers would just leave it at Red Lodge Park right now, but never, ever put in concrete. Thank you.
Tom, if you would wrap up rather quickly.
I will-
We've hit the outside window that we want to do, because I want to give the public all a opportunity to comment as well.
Absolutely. I will go as quickly as I can through the last piece here, which is just basically to say ice skating is it's a huge tradition in our community, and continuing to have ice skating is super important. And I think the open air ability of ice skating is really a lot of what makes our community, our love for the outdoors and doing things outdoors is really, one of the things that makes our community special. It's one of the things that reasons people love to live here, and keeping and having the ability to have outdoor winter recreation that is accessible and and relatively cheap and free for people to be able to do is really, really, really important. Some of the highest use in the rinks is Saturday morning learn to skate with all the kids who are out there really out there learning and having fun on the ice. It's just so much fun always to see. It's actually, when we look at rink usage, hockey actually has less people, less visitors, but still gets a lot of usage. And I think the key piece is that ice skating has been a winter fixture in Red Lodge for over 100 years, and as a community, we need to build the best facility we can afford to build in the location with the most community benefit. And I appreciate the council. I appreciate you guys sitting up here. These are not necessarily easy decisions. There's a lot of people in this room who have very strong opinions one way or the other, but I do know that, one of the things I discovered working with Don and Richard is, almost everybody does agree on that. Having an ice rink in our community is important. And so figuring out that location is really, really what we need to do, and then get behind that and move forward. How's that for?
Right, thank you. So on our agenda, what I have allowed, and again, the folks who have stood up and volunteered their time to come do this, that position does come with privileges. Just saying, times to sign up for elections is just a few months down the road. It's if you want to be part of the table, it does come with its privileges, and one of those is Right now, what I'd like to do is look to the table and see if there are any questions for Tom, just kind of that. To the
Or
maybe
me,
answer.
or us.
Well, right now I'm gonna limit it to Tom, but take notes and I guarantee you, my job is to make sure that everybody gets a chance to have a voice. That will happen. So for right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna limit conversation to the table. And I see hands raised online. We'll get to folks online as well. But right now it's be a conversation from the table. It's a few minutes before public comment. Looking to decide anything?
I'm sure I will have a compilation sentence as time
Okay,
goes.
but nothing at this moment.
Nothing at this moment, I think it's just something to absorb and take in, and again, curious to hear what the public input is as well, beyond what we've already received.
Councilmember Reed.
Okay, I have lots of questions, like try to keep it short, because I would rather hear from the public. But I also have questions for Richard and Don, so
Okay, go ahead.
But Tom, hi. What is the end game at Lions Club Park? Meaning what are you envisioning for the end game? Because I worry about space. I was there today with Brian. I was out on the highway with Brian today, and I was at the Civic Center with Brian today. I think it's small for what you want. If you just want a little neighborhood thing, but I've heard you say you want to have hockey tournaments and, you know, big time people coming in for the weekends, but Brian says you're gonna build a Zamboni barn on the north side. And then I hear other, how are you gonna do all this without cutting down those trees? I'll stop talking.
So end game, to build the best ice facility we can afford in the location that's best. When we look at Lions Park, you know, it is to basically replace, if you were to go there today, is to replace that would, the ice that's there would have concrete under it. It would get shifted a little bit to the northeast from where it sits today, to provide more of a grass buffer between the road and the rink. But that would be the end game. And like we talked about, a Zamboni garage, which would sit to the east, and you would have to cut down some trees. You can plant more in other places. So you can't do it without cutting down some trees. 100%.
And I heard around a new locker room. Where's that gonna be built?
So that would be part of the Zamboni garages. There would be a space on the front of it that would have warming hut capability in that Zamboni garage.
Okay, insurance. Who pays insurance for this outfit?
You know, again, there's pieces of this that wouldn't change from where we are today. But you know, this presentation is in concept, and there's a lot of details and funding details that we just don't know the answer to because we haven't gotten down that road yet.
Is Red Lodge gonna be footing this entire bill? Are you gonna have donations, fundraisers? What, is this
Yes.
$5,000 a month for electricity? How are the cities gonna handle all this?
There would be, yes, there absolutely would be some city cost involved in having to meet, just like there is with the pool. Yep, water, sewer, electricity, yeah.
When I say you, I'm saying a big you. You contributing much money to this new.
Absolutely, there would be contributions to it. You know, one of the goals though would be to keep it accessible and free to the public. So, you know, where a lot of rinks do charge for use. So that would be a possibility. It's a small fee to, you know, I mean, that's definitely, again, those kinds of details would.
And I just want to say that there will always be a skating rink in this town. That's a given, it's a no-brainer.
It's a location question, really. Yeah, I totally understand that.
What I liked about the Civic Center area is flat.
It's not big enough.
What about part of the field? And Don didn't mention this in his report, that the field is.
Yeah. If you could move into Doug Brown Field, the Doug Brown Field would be a great location. But there's a lot of competition there in terms of it actually is a full-size field right now. So you can play soccer, you can do all kinds of things on it, where Lions Park is not a full-size field. And so, you know, you can play football on Doug Brown Field, you can play soccer. there's pieces there. If you were to put a concrete rink in the middle of that, it would,
It's closer to downtown.
No concrete.
It's closer to downtown, Tom, and plenty of parking.
absolutely.
And no
Yep.
neighborhood would be, well, I'm gonna stop doing fights with my else. But I'll stop for now. I have more things.
Councilmember Davis, any questions for our presenters?
Just cost analysis for both locations, the airport or, yes, so looking forward to those.
Yeah, so that would be part of we would, need to do engineering reports and build a plan to get full cost analysis, but part of why we're here today is to, get public input, get your approval, because we don't want to build a plan that, if we spend a lot of money to build a plan in Lions Park and Lions Park's a no, then, or if we build it, somewhere else, we want to make sure that whatever we're planning for is a possibility for putting the rink in. But if you want to build a full facility, our estimate is somewhere around $1.8 million.
2 million.
Yeah, I can say 20 something.
Councilmember Ronnie, any questions for the presenters?
I just had one question. In your presentation, you did have phase 1 and phase 2. And my understanding is phase 1 would be filling in the bowl, correct?
Leveling the ground,
Level
yes.
scratch,
Yeah.
so that wouldn't be there anymore, because that was specifically built for the ice skating rink.
That's correct. Yeah, that area was built to be an ice skating rink, and it was bowled out so that you could fill it with water, which didn't work, which is why we didn't like it.
Phase 1 on there, but you didn't say it out loud that there's a possibility of using temporary mats. Is that completely off the table now?
No, it's not at all. It's, it's a cost benefit analysis on it, and it could potentially be a viable solution.
That's all for now. Looking forward to the cost figures and.
Yeah, so I think really the key thing is to, pick a site, kind of go in with a site and then engineer and figure out costs there.
Would you give us cost estimate on using the temporary pads versus the permanent and including the cost of the setup for the temporary every year?
Yeah, that would need to come together, yeah.
Councilmember Battles?
Mostly here to listen, but I am curious how long those mats last versus a concrete solution.
All the information that we get is long-term, the mats are more expensive. Because of wear and tear, basically with a concrete solution these days, maybe I'll just step back. Concrete used to last 15 to 20 years because they had galvanized pipe is what the cooling went in. Now, anybody who has radiant floor heating will know that you can you use a PEX pipe for the cooling and it essentially lasts forever. There's not even any joints in the concrete and those kinds of things. So, the mats can last 10, 15 years sometimes, but the concrete will last a very long time.
Councilmember Daniels.
Yeah, most of the questions that I had have actually already been asked. I'm kind of with the cost analysis for both locations, curious to see how those play out. But also here to listen, take it on.
So, I have just a question or two too. One of them is, and I'm kind of look 20 years down the road and I see the cost of maintenance coming in there. If the feel from the council was we foresee approving the leveling the field, which gives you the ability to put in those temporary pads and put ice on it. But we don't ever see there being a concrete slab there. At that point, do you suppose Red Lodge Ice would still be interested in putting their efforts and fundraising for that site? Or do you get the sense the preference would be if we know that's never where we're gonna go, we should pick a different location and we should design accordingly?
That's correct. Yeah, so we've had that conversation, obviously that's a smaller group conversation, but that we need to be all in for a location for the future, right? And so that's why being clear about what the impact long-term to Lions Park maybe is really important, and not saying, oh, we're not gonna have concrete and then wanting to ease down that road. That is, I think, the point of the comment of ice someplace that's consistent and good in a high quality facility is better than inconsistent not good ice. And so I think almost everybody would agree, wherever we go, we should be all in that location.
All right, thank you. All right, you may have a seat. Thank you, sir. And if you will, show your screen. So, so what we're gonna do now is we are gonna go to the public comment. In the interest of time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have folks stand up and line up, and I kind of put the mic at one side earlier so that people can come out and go out. Again, anyone can speak for or against. I'm not, and quite frankly, you can speak on anything, right? Presumably, most of the conversations tonight are gonna be on the ice. A couple of things, you're limited to one public comment per comment period. Those of you who look at the agenda, see we have a public comment at the beginning of the meeting, we have a public comment at the end of the meeting as well. Address all of your comments to me, to the chair. They're eavesdropping, I promise. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. Also, I'm gonna add, while somebody is speaking, be respectful of others. I don't want there to be any comments while they're there. I know there's some meetings in the past where we've had people say, I agree or I disagree, and it kind of turns into a mob noise thing. So what we're gonna do instead is what has been done in other municipalities, and I've reached out and talked to the league and other things. And the recommendation is, what you can do is stand up, say, my name is Bob, I'm on the record. I'd just like to agree with everything that Richard said. And then sit down, right? So you have 3 minutes. You're not required to use 3 minutes. You can do that. Secondly, if you have previously turned in a letter, don't read that letter. That's not a good use of the time. Council has seen all of those letters. They are there. If you have something new that you'd like to submit that hasn't been submitted, please don't read that if you're going to turn that in. And by the way, you turn those in over to Lonnie on the end. You can also send her the electronic copy. You can, welcome to use your 3 minutes to kind of summarize and say, I'm turning in my letter. Please note this point, that point, and call it done. So again, no public noise while somebody else is speaking, but you are welcome to get up and use your opportunity to speak as a comment period to say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I agree with so-and-so and so-and-so, and go ahead and sit down. I think that's kind of the rules. And so with that, and like I said, the other thing is just in the interest of time, I will have a timer going. Keep comments respectful. And other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and open the public comment. So for those online, people in the room will have first opportunity. We'll go through. Once I see a die off there, then we will move to public comments online. I will say that this meeting will not go past 8 o'clock. So if all else fails, as we approach that 8 o'clock hour, what I will do is I will look to council, because our rules say we have to end at 8 unless somebody extends it. I'll look for council to continue this meeting to our next meeting, which is February 10th, and then we just close this meeting for now and pick it up in a couple of weeks. With that, did I get everything? All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and open up public comment. So feel free to line up.
Mayor Westwood, my name is Barb Beck. I'm representing the Red Lodge Tennis Board. Oh, I live outside the city of Red Lodge by about a mile. But to update on the tennis court project, we are working under the design and development MOU we had with the council and Mike Maples to obtain a preliminary engineering report on our site. And that will provide answers to your questions about site design, about construction, and refine the cost estimates that we have. Our fundraising, our preliminary estimate is $850,000. We are closing in on $750 at this point. So some of that is pending, but we're optimistic that we can get all that money so far.
Is it that boating maintenance garage? Lions Park would be unattractive, unrecognizable for town. Lions Park should not sacrifice the existing all-season use of its recreational space in exchange for a single winter-only purpose. Doing so would be especially egregious because alternative locations could place the project where it would truly be appreciated by locals and visitors alike, including city land adjacent to Highway 78. Please select a few residents to the end and of existing land and would be pleasing for the improvement to unused land. Yes, it would be wonderful if the skating season could be lengthened and the ice improved beyond what Mother Nature allows. But in the interest of fairness, the opinions of residents who live near Lions Park should carry more weight than those who live out of town and rarely visit the park outside of skating season. Please carefully consider this project altogether and consider my earnest request to construct it in a different location. Thank you for your consideration, Rebecca Hardy.
Again, please, no applause during that. We're gonna move through comments. And again, in the interest of time, if you're submitting comments or have submitted comments, don't read letters, just submit them and then summarize and go from there. And I'll continue to work on the technology in the background. Sorry.
Stand up and say our name if we agree.
No, no. So you can use that as, you can come up and agree later, but remember, you get one opportunity for comment period.
All right, Mayor, my name is Joe Cocola and I am fully supportive of a concrete slab in Lions Park for the extension of the hockey season and ice skating in general use. As a father with 2 little kids, I would ask the council to think about the future ice skating possibilities in Red Lodge and also the accessibility and the walkability of Lions Park to winter ice skating activities.
You can ask.
Hello, my name is Luke Anderson, and I'm reading this for a friend who couldn't make it today. Members of the Red Lodge.
Turn it in afterwards, or is it just here? Okay.
Members of the Red Lodge City Council and Mayor. My family has benefited from the Red Lodge for the past 4 winters, and we hope to continue doing so for many years to come. Each year. Red Lodge is such a special place. These trips have become a meaningful tradition for our family. Red Lodge Ice is more than just a rink. It brings families into your community, supports local businesses, and creates positive experiences that keep people coming back year after year. Red Lodge Ice deserves your support, and I appreciate your consideration for the value it brings to both families like mine and the broader Red Lodge community. Thank you.
Who said it?
Somebody.
Who's that?
Who wrote it?
Phil Weiss.
Who?
Phil Weiss.
Bill Weiss?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen Cap. I live on Platt Avenue in town. In the hockey involved, but in this debate over, do we do it in Lions Park? Do we not? There's been this kind of energy or skating. They do it from their hearts. And I, as a skater, benefit from that. And I just want to keep that in perspective as the debate continues, that these people offer this ice because they do it from this heartfelt place. It's not them against Red Lodge or them against the neighborhood. And I just felt that that needed to be said. And then as a former person who made my living for 20 years in the tourism industry, and this is a tourism grant, this year, having extended ice could have definitely benefited the business community, considering that we've had very little snow. We had no ice until mid-January, and we benefited the community. Thank you.
Next.
I'm Lorna Babby, and I'm not well prepared. I appreciated those last comments. I do hope we can all give each other the benefit of the doubt and come to a solution here that the majority of the town can be comfortable with and happy with. Most of what I have are questions, but I will be honest and say I am not in favor of the concrete slab, much to the disappointment of my family members and many of my friends. My first question is whether there was an analysis early on in all of this of all of the various summer uses of the green space of the park. The slab is, we want to have an accessible farmers market. There are many places in town we can do that. We can do that on the street, like they do in Billings. We have so many places parks. So the slab is
Yeah, now you're out.
All right, I think we've got the tent working. And might be some paint. Just some fancy. I'll bring it. All right, guys, so what I'm gonna do, a couple things, I reset the connection, picked it up so that folks online can hear us. We're in trouble with the HDMI, so I'm not gonna turn that on.
The owl's back on.
That's because the meeting's connected again. It'll, yeah, we're good, thank you. All right, so with that, we are public comment. We will resume, so please go ahead and line up. Again, one time for public comment period. And if you've got comments that you're gonna turn in, particularly if they're comments for somebody else, please just turn them in, quick summary so that everybody gets a chance to go. All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and reopen the public comment.
Thank you. I'm Mark Keller. I live on Hauser Avenue, and I'm also a member of the Carbon County Historic Preservation Commission, the Red Lodge representative. I appreciate Tom's history on the park. It's true that ice skating has been there for a long time. I like the park. I like what the folks have done there, the ice skating. I walked down there today and skated a little bit. But I don't want to see a concrete pad set there. It is just removing more of the character from that park. And I would not like to see that happen.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, I'm Kim Sapalka with the Carbon County Arts Guild and 11 West State Street. And the Carbon County Arts Guild is in favor of a pad. I do appreciate the presentation from Tom and the ICE Foundation. We see it as a benefit year round because I think it has multiple uses. And also we see the economy kind of shift for us. Our revenue shifts when we have ice longer than what we sometimes have. And so it's a benefit. And I also ditto what Jen said and ditto the gentleman, Joe. Good points. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next. Feel free to go ahead and line up so we can keep this moving.
Beth Hutchinson, 12th Street. I heard some reluctance about the level or the topography on the park. And a couple of steps would solve that problem to get down into that area. That's cheap and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And as far as the topography and the wind up on 78, berms could be developed with trees, and that would reduce the wind significantly. So I think when we're looking at both the pros and cons, not just the obvious first thing you think about needs to be looked at. There are a lot of subtleties, things that will be worse or better depending on solutions that cannot be reached.
Thank you. Next.
Sandy Conley, and I'm glad I'm back here instead of up there. This is the first I've heard of the 5 acres on 78 Airport Road as being considered. I don't think it's the highest and best use of that land. definitely, there isn't a bathroom there, which is very expensive to put in. Where Lions Park already has a bathroom and has, I understand the people that live across from the park. Not wanting anything to change. But to me, that seems to be the best place. It's already got infrastructure. And the Farmers Market and Arts Guild have supported this because people that are handicapped, whether it's just a cane or a wheelchair, have trouble navigating the farmers market and the Arts Guild when they have their big art sale. And so having a concrete slab is a big advantage to them. And, you know, I think that we really, unfortunately, need to support the location as Lions Park. There are 2,500 people in town. And I think the majority of those people that are usually quiet would support Lions Park. And I think a lot of people would get into skating. And I think you could have high school teams, whether it's hockey or whether it's figure skating. So I think that's a huge advantage, the central location. I don't like the idea of wasting a 5-acre parcel that has better uses up on 78.
Thank you, Sandy. Next.
Hello.
Thank you for the card. You're doing great at just waiting your turn.
Grant Cadwalader, place at 417 Northward. Overlooking that, I really approve of the location at Lions Park. That wind is drastically reduced with the giant massive hill from the airport hill. I will submit a letter also and just wanted to approve of it. I think the longevity of the concrete would be so much beneficial for our money and get our longevity use out of it. So anyway.
Thank you, Greg. Next. Looking to the room. Sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Becky Van Horn. I'll be reading a letter from someone who could not be here.
Can you just
Reclaiming my
summarize it?
time, I remain opposed to this project, particularly when the realities of our changing climate with consistently warmer winters, increased sunlight exposure, and ongoing ice melt. I do not see how Red Lodge Ice in this location would provide a sustainable or long-term benefit to the community. The facility would require continual rebuilding and maintenance simply to remain usable, raising serious concerns about long-term cost, efficiency, and practicality. I am also opposed to allocating approximately $400,000 in resort tax funds to this project in its current location. Given climate realities and elevation, it is likely that Red Lodge Ice would eventually need to relocate to a different area or require the construction of a fully enclosed building to meet its needs. Either option would involve significant additional expense beyond the initial investment. Similar projects in other towns have demonstrated that outdoor or minimally protected ice facilities often fail under warming climate conditions, becoming ongoing financial and logistical burdens rather than sustainable community assets. In many cases, communities are ultimately forced to invest in permanent buildings or rebuild facilities properly after initial attempts prove unworkable. There are many ice rinks facilities that are done right the first time, and I respectfully suggest that we go back to the drawing board. Committing a substantial amount of public resort tax funding to a project that may not be viable long-term does not appear to be a responsible or prudent use of these funds. I am also deeply concerned about the manner in which public support for this project has been sought. When elected officials feel compelled to personally write letters to the editor or characterize community opposition as threatening, it raises serious questions about whether this project reflects broad public interest or a predetermined outcome. Additionally, reports that pressure has been placed on city or county staff, including the involvement of the Carbon County Historic Preservation Officers, are troubling. City projects should be evaluated on their merits through transparent, respectful processes without fear of professional retaliation or intimidation. I respectfully urge the city council to carefully consider this investment, ensure the public discourse remains open and respectful, and evaluate whether resort tax dollars could be better used for projects that offer lasting, reliable benefits to the broader Red Lodge community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Barry Bowles, Red Lodge resident.
Thank you, Becky.
Hi, I'm Karen Kenning. And I understand that many people have raised their kids skating on that ice for hundreds of years, it seemed like. Why does it have to change? Have the children today changed? No, they haven't. That people didn't buy those beautiful homes in Red Lodge to live near a big slab of concrete. And why do we need concrete? And people who can't get there with wheelchairs, they still have to get from the curb there. And you don't want to go to farmer's market or all these different wonderful things that are in a park and be on concrete.
Thank you, Karen. Next.
My name is Dave Johnson, and I feel like the Lions Park location is very important to the community aspect of the rink. And I think to move it out of that location would really hinder the way not only the residents use it, but also visitors who have the access to downtown. And I think anything we can do to extend the rink life at that site, we should consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Hi, my name's Ray Coons, and my kids grew up skating on that rink. My son went on to play junior hockey in Lewiston, Maine. When that rink became more viable, he hung up his snowboard, skated every day, and forced me to become a hockey dad. That is a fate I would not wish upon anyone. I think the case is clear here. We need for this community the best rink that we can afford and sustain. It brings in people, it brings in tourism, and it's a great community resource. The great thing about Lions Park is that any kid in town can walk down there anytime and just get on the ice and skate around. But what we need is the best sustainable long-term rink solution that we can have. We think that Lions Park is the best location for that, but this council will also have, and we will develop through the Parks Board and through lining out the costs and the advantages and relative pros and cons, another good choice up at Airport Road and 78. And what we are asking is that we find the best location that works for the community, that we can commit our resources to for long-term success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Next.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gettle, and I'm one of the volunteer instructors that teach the Saturday morning Learn to Skate. I just wanted to state for clarification that to make the best ice rink we can for Red Lodge Ice, the option might be using cooling mats or go to cement. Cement is the better option. The way to maintain the ice currently requires a huge amount of man hours. Without the Zamboni, they're pretty much making the ice by hand to get it ready for Saturday morning. Cooling mats would add another layer of work for the Red Lodge Ice organization to try and maintain that ice. So I'm in support of a cement slab, whether that be at Lions Park or a different location.
Thank you, Kathy. Next.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Andy Simpson, President of Red Lodge Ice. You've heard both sides here. I appreciate the comments and concerns from neighbors. I wanted to point out that half our crew left to go play hockey tonight. We pushed our schedule back, but they had to go. And half of those people are the ones that do the work at the rink. And I just wanted to point out that to us, location doesn't matter. We can drive up the hill, we can drive to Roberts, and we would do it gladly to go play hockey. I think the important thing is the accessibility for tourists, downtown residents, and especially kids. Leading into that, I'm gonna read a letter from my wife. She's online with our kids at home. Hello, Mayor and council members. Thank you for allowing us to share our feelings. My name is Brandon Simpson. I'm online in and out of connection, but wanted to share. I'm the mother of 2 small boys and I teach at Mountain View Elementary. I'd like to share my support for the rink to stay at Lions Park. This morning, as I arrived to school, I saw 2 young girls get off the bus arm in arm. They had backpacks slung over their outside shoulder along with their skates. It occurred to me in that moment the impact having the rink in town has on our young population. Moving the rink up onto the bench takes away their accessibility for children to walk together to enjoy the rink after school. At a time where so many outdoor sports and recreation require transportation, the rink remains a steadfast pastime that is not only affordable, but accessible by everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Next.
Hello, Nate Davis, 1101 South Adams. I just want to give you my support for the rink. My wife and I raised 2 sons here. They spent a lot of time on that rink. One thing I do take exception that was brought up was that the people that live right across the street are somehow more important with respect to this, and I disagree with that. We all use this community, we're all here, and I think that needs to be addressed. Another thing, maybe we should look into moving the basketball court, volleyball court, move that onto the concrete slab. That way you can use more space, green space, turn that into green space, and then maybe get rid of that road as well. That kind of separates that small patch. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Next, looking in the chamber. We'll get to folks online in a moment.
Hi, Council, Mayor. Betsy Scanlon, 401 North Board. I look at the hockey lights every night till 10 o'clock. It's blinding, a block away. And I want to stress first that we agree on a lot of things. We all like skating and we like the Lions Park and we like it accessible. But I will say that 90% of the people that use that park don't walk to it, especially the ones from out of town. You know, on the weekends, everybody drives, and those kids do not come on their own. They come with their parents in cars that are heated. So I wanted to point out that accessibility is one of the issues that can be set aside. Grass. You know, when you live in town, you're not in a big subdivision with large lots outside of town. This is our grass. This is our biggest stretch of grass in town. And to eliminate not even what's there, but even more than the current ice skating rink is erasing a major year-round asset that we have, a natural asset. And concrete, I think, is one of the biggest issues here. I would like to see the mats be tried for 2 or 3 years. See if it really does accomplish the goal of enhancing tourism. I'd like to see some numbers. How many more people come when in November from Billings, Montana, when they're on their bikes and they're hiking in the Beartooths? Are they gonna come skating? You know, I mean, are we gonna market this as some kind of mecca for tournaments when we're competing with a lot of bigger venues? How many weekends are gonna be used for tournaments? The Arts Guild and the Farmers Market are a total of about 20 days a year. Arts Guild has their 2 events a year. Farmers Market is about 6 or 8 weeks. That is 20 days out of 365. And the rest of the year, we have to look at and use a cement slab. And if you think people want a picnic on a hot cement slab, you know, you have to think twice. This is not going to be very welcoming. You're going to have a lot of umbrellas. Think about the environmental aspects of the energy it's going to take to cool Mother Nature for 2 more months, 3 more months. So I urge you to consider, yes, let's keep the ice skating rink at Lions Park. Let's keep it natural most of the year. And let's try the mats for 2 or 3 years, see how that plays out, what the cost of that is, and whether that's going to be a sustaining and not a permanent effect on a very important park in our town. Thanks.
Thank you, Betsy. Next.
Hi, my name's Shauna Wolf. I live on North Platte. I just wanted to say the bright lights, every time I see them from my second story bedroom window, I get excited because I know I can walk across the street and run into friends down there. So the location, I'm absolutely ideal and love that area. And also working as a bartender in our hotels, I've seen the weekends for the tournaments, hotel rates and get fully booked out and bartending, making exponentially more in the community supporting our local bars. So that's just my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. Looking next in the chambers for those who'd like to speak.
Mayor, Westwood, and council members, I'm Deborah Muth, and I live 18 Rock Creek Circle. I don't know exactly where I stand on this, but I wanted to bring up a few points. 100 years of weather ago, things have warmed much since that time. You notice in the ski hill, we have less snow. We have less ice. And that's because we've had warmer weather, and that's from global warming. I'm on the sustainability board for the city, and our mission is to try to save the city some money and to make it sustainable. And this kind of project for big concrete slab, somebody said $5,000 a month. I don't think that's saving energy. I don't see any plans for creating energy that is sustainable to sustain ice longer. I grew up skiing and skating at 5. I'm 75 now. I loved it. I loved skating. We used to have rinks. In particular in Minnesota, we'd go down to a lake where they'd plow a rink and they'd put up hockey boarding and they'd have a nice warming house and fire. It was fabulous. We walked to it miles and we'd walk home back in the day, as they say. But I see today it being different. I see that maybe concrete could be a problem, and it's not what we moved here for. I've been here, 27 years? And I think people who live across the street, the noise of the humming of the ice machine making would be an issue. And I don't see our small town being the same. I worked for the city of Minnetonka for 8 years. And we had to come up with ice and decide to put it inside. But the schools had hockey teams. They'd play. The high schools would play each other. I don't see tournaments like that here in a town this size. Minnetonka was 50,000 people at the time. So just some of these things to think of. Open space is something that is very hard to define, green space, but we know it when we see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Next.
Hello, I'm Teresa Tafoya. I live at 401 North Hauser. And, tonight there's been a lot of talk about the accessibility for a place to skate. And skating has never been the issue here, not having an ice skating rink. But we also need to talk about the accessibility to a green space in the park for the other 8 months out of the year. And so what happens there? A concrete slab for 8 months during the summer when I see families drive up from Billings, I see clubs drive up from Billings, I see lots of families in the park utilizing the green space, playing ball, families playing kickball together, kids running around coming from the kids park. I mean, that green space gets used, and to do away with that green space for a concrete slab, I'm just totally opposed. But I do agree with Betsy. Let's try I know it could be expensive, but maybe in the long run it would save money, you know, trying the alternative portable or you know, the cooling mats. You know, if we tried that to see how it worked for those 4 months, who knows? I mean, we might turn into the tropics in Montana, and even just having, you know, cooling mats might not even work. And so I think we need to give it a shot and see what else we can come up with, you know, I don't mind, I mean, it's nice to have an ice skating rink in the middle of the town, that is nice. And it's fun to watch, you know, the families and the kids skate, but we also have to think about the rest of the community who utilizes that space the rest of the 8 months out of the year, so that's it.
Right, thank you, Tressa.
Steve Smith, I'm at Ellibon North Hauser. One of my concerns is growth. In reading Brian Hanna's report in the city council agenda minutes, I'm sure you council people have all seen that. Of the 8 communities that he talked to, all of them experienced growth. I'm not gonna say pressure, but growth. It was a popular thing. It worked. There was a lot of additional construction done, additions to the area, buildings, concessions, stands for spectators. I'm not sure that Lions Park has the room for what's probably going to happen. That is a lot of growth in skating. We all agree that skating is a positive and a plus. So I just think that the Lions Park location is questionable based upon what has happened to these other communities and the amount of growth that has occurred. I do think that, secondly, it does seem that permanent ice is all of these 8, they're not all permanent, most of them are. If we're gonna go permanent, Lions Park is not the place for a permanent ice rink. The other locations, and I think the Airport Road and 78 is a good one, and I'm looking forward to the studies that are gonna come forward for these types of matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next. Looking to the room before going to online. All right, seeing none, I do have some hands online. Seth Decker, you're up.
Good evening. So my name's Seth Decker. I live on White, and I also have a house on Word. So I get the best of both worlds in tonight's discussion. But I would say I am all for the Highway 78 and Airport Road location. I think that gives the city the best ability and availability to grow in the future, whether that's expansion to multiple rinks, if that's expansion to a building or a covered rink. I just don't think that Lions Park is the place for a permanent structure. I do feel, and I know you all know, green space has been talked about heavily. Noise and lights and water and environmental studies, that kind of thing. Up on 78, the lights and the noise would be a non-issue. I know when I come across Airport Road and I see the lights come on at the football field, I know there's a game. I also know that we get a lot of the traffic from the Red Lodge Mountain and also from the Nordic Center. So that could be more central in the future as the housing growth seems to be going to the west, with more growth up on Remington Ranch, more growth out by the Spires, and just continuing on its way out to Luther. So over time, over a 20-year growth plan, that rink might be more central. It'll give ample parking. It won't impact the residents in that neighborhood. And you could put that permanent structure with the walls up on 78 in Airport Road. So I appreciate you guys looking at all alternate locations, and that's all I had for tonight.
Mayor Dave,
Thank you, Seth.
could you put your microphone on the?
Oh, are you guys not?
Because we're not
Is
hearing.
that not coming out of that?
No, it is.
Bring me that. Oh, yeah. Either one. Oh, I can do this one.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. We'll see if that works. Is it coming out of the hour?
It's coming out of.
All right, online I have just a Zoom user. I see your camera and a hand raised, but I don't have a name. If that category meets you, you're up. I'm looking at a black shirt. Black glasses. I'm trying to describe this so I don't get in trouble. You're logged in to Zoom.
Renee
user, going
Tafoya.
once.
I think that's Renee Tafoya.
Oh, is that Renee with the hand up?
Yes, hi.
Renee, you are up. You have 3 minutes.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you can hear me. My name's Renee Tafoya, and thank you to the Red Lodge City Council, Mayor, and Red Lodge Ice. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. My family home is right across from the ice skating rink. And let me say up front that I do not approve of the Lions Park project for paving that and making that a permanent ice skating rink, because I know people are saying that it's a not in my backyard issue for those of us who live in that area, but this is why my backyard is important. We live there and see that park used year around, not just for ice skating, which we love. We love that there's an ice skating rink there, but that's only in the winter. There is spring, summer, and fall, and there are people who use that area that equal the numbers of people who ice skate in that area. So we really, in my neighborhood and in my family, we know that paving that piece of ground would eliminate the green space for the rest of the year. I really do appreciate that Tom Kuntz has offered a location on Highway 78. I do think that if we have a hockey rink, I think that there should be room for expansion. There's no room for expansion at Lions Park. The parking there is minimal, and then even in the winter, with the snow plows, there's even less parking. So I do not approve of paving that area, although we love having the ice skating, casual ice skating, community ice skating in that park. It's just really not the right place for the an expansion of the hockey rinks, and I love the idea of that, but that's just not the right location. So I hope that you could hear me, and I hope that that my comments will be recorded. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. We are closing in on toward the end of the meeting. I want to reach out first off in the room and see if there's any other folks that have not had a chance to comment who would like to. Seeing none there, I'm going to look online. If you could raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to comment, I'd be happy to call on you. Going once.
I raised my hand.
Angie, you're up.
I would just like to say I agree with some of the comments that I believe it was Deb Muth brought up about sustainability. And I think if we want good ice for an extended amount of time, probably having a cover over it at some point would be a good idea. And maybe solar panels on that cover to help augment the electricity it's going to take to keep the ice cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Angie. Lindsay, you're up. Lindsay, if you're speaking, your mute is on. There you go.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time for this important meeting. I just wanted to share a cool picture that we just created. It's for my 10-year-old son. He loves Red Lodge Ice.
We'll be on the recording. Sorry.
That's okay. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate everybody's comment. I just want to say Red Lodge Ice is such a gift to our community. Keeping outdoor recreation alive, affordable for families, and bringing people together all winter long is important to me. Huge thanks to everybody involved in this important project and to all the volunteers who make all the ice happen. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. I support Red Lodge Ice.
Thank you, Lindsay. Looking to the room. Looking online for hands being raised. Going once. Going twice. We're going to go ahead and close public comment. What I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to bring back this to the table. We have 8 minutes before our meeting ends. Council Member Rouge, you have the floor.
Richard Gessling, Ron Kenny, and Tom Phipps were getting together. I was just like I was tonight. I was just thrilled with you all cooperating and trying to find a good answer to this huge problem. And I just, but one thing, I think you didn't have enough time, but another option, and you said that John Fitzgerald may be okay with it, is Doug Brownfield. It's flat, parking, and the Civic Center. I was there today with Brian Hanna, and the Civic Center provides shade, at least in November, December, and January. But I would just like to get a sense of the 3 places, and maybe talk to John Fitzgerald more to see if it's yay or nay. If it's not, we talked about 78 and the highway and a happy solution for Lions Park. Then I'm
Conversations at the table right now. Sorry.
okay.
Looking down here. So my question for the council is, our next steps. Based on the process land use and planning is working on for city land, what I would be inclined to think is probably going to happen next is that we would get a recommendation from the Parks Board before it comes back to council. Is that just kind of a straw poll, yes or no?
Yes.
Councilmember Tupin, I see your face.
Looks good. It's there. It's attached. So I think that in terms of recommendation, yes, Parks Board, but also city staff would be crucial.
Okay.
So again, at the end of the day, that's going to be who's affecting the most, and yeah, and in terms of the land use and planning process, it's nowhere even close to touching this. Just for an FYI. Like, we have general information that we'd like to have, but in terms of actually a process of how we evaluate it, we don't have that.
Let me rephrase the question. What would council like to see when this comes to the work session below the fold for initial discussion, which does not mean action, it just means talking about it, moving toward action?
I think that what I would like to see as land use and planning is we'd like to actually go through this at our meeting and figure out what we want to see, because it's not just something that we're going to come up with on the spot here. I think it deserves the merits discussion.
Okay. So we'll put this on land use and planning agenda at the next time, obviously. Okay.
How are we gonna incorporate all 3 locations? How are we gonna visit them? What are we gonna, how are you go through that?
So essentially, in terms of the land use and planning process, I don't have a vision for it yet, because that's gonna require the committee to discuss. And so I think before we even broach, like, let's explore all 3, because I'm for that. I think that we should explore all 3, but I think we need to go and see the criteria that we've already designated as stuff that we want in our evaluation process. Put that into essentially a checklist that we can provide to city staff as well as planning board and any other boards that we feel that seems suitable for. And that could be folks outside of city. It doesn't necessarily mean city boards as well. They could be talking with Business Alliance, specifically talking to the folks that are actually fundraising this. And figuring out what they need as well. So again, it's a much larger conversation that I don't see us voting on next week. Okay.
Oh, no, well, we know that wouldn't happen no matter what,
Yeah.
right? Councilmember Davis, what would you like to see before this comes back to the council below the fold?
Oh, well, I just had a question. I apologize for not knowing this, but what's the pilot grant? What's the next step and what's the next date?
So let's keep conversation at the table. So from a pilot grant, what their next step will be is they are selecting an RFP to do an engineering report. Presumably, they would want to know a site or two before they do that, because if we have them do a full workup on 3 sites, that's gonna be a higher cost. But we can certainly look into that before the next meeting to find that information out.
See what's next there. Yeah.
Okay. Did I understand the question and did I answer it? Okay, Councilmember Ronnie.
Personally, I would just like them to move ahead with the engineering study so that we get the information that we need. And then have them take that to, our usual way of doing it, which would be the Parks Board, to get their, opinion on it, and then moving it forward to land use and planning, and then to council. With the numbers.
Question, how do we get the engineering study for which location?
Well, I think, Ahmed mentioned those two, to do it on those two. I agree, I don't know that you can actually do it on, it would get astronomically expensive if you start doing engineering studies on every potential site out there. So I think they have to pick 2. And do it on that. And whatever 2 they decide to do.
And evaluate, okay, Councilmember Battles. Oh, let me pause for a second. To me, when we have done things like that for other projects, we have generally had the sponsoring organization come to council and have a resolution and a development MOU that authorizes them to go out and spend money with good faith, with doing that. What step, before we had a resolution that said, we give you authorization to go spend money and effort looking at 2 sites using your suggestion.
That budget, coming up with an engineering study and a budget.
Well, the engineering study is what will produce the budget.
Right, exactly.
So. I see an MOU coming to a below the fold discussion saying, please go get more detailed information.
Yes.
On these 2 sites.
Yes.
Yes, no, purple?
3 sites. We need to talk to John Fitzgerald.
3 sites.
3 sites.
3 sites.
3, I'm looking to council.
I think that the cost will start getting astronomically expensive to do it on all 3 sites. So I mean, if you wanna put, the civic center.
We can look at the cost difference for 2 and 3,
yeah,
okay?
yeah. So, but.
Councilmember Battles.
I'd like to see land use and planning discuss whether sites are viable. I'm sorry, can't hear you.
Okay, outside the way, sorry.
I'd like to see land use and planning discuss whether which of these sites are even viable. One's in a park, one's not, one's.
Yeah.
Occupied. So, I think that needs to be a first step. Don't offer an option that isn't realistic for one.
Okay.
And then what they said is acceptable.
Okay. Councilmember Daniels.
Yeah, no, back to that flow chart on land use and planning. Yeah, we are nowhere near touching this or making any sort of decision, but I agree, like, I kind of feel like the cost of, the analysis is going. 2 is gonna be cheaper than 3. And I think that the 2 that Tom presented seem to me to be the most viable.
Quick point of order, we're at 8 o'clock, can you extend this for 15 minutes?
So, yeah,
No, 15.
I will entertain a motion to extend the meeting.
I move to extend the meeting, as long as needed.
I don't think that's one of our choices. We certainly haven't done that in the past.
We can do 15. Anything on that?
So do I have a motion, specific motion to extend the meeting?
I would like to make a motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes to 8:15.
I have a motion from Councilmember Tupin, second from Councilmember Rood. Any discussion at the table? Let's just do a show of hands. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. I'm not gonna raise mine because I'm not a vote. Keep them up, please, so I can keep. 1, 2, 3, 6-0. Motion passes. Meeting will extend till 8:15. All right, Councilmember Daniels, back to you.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I think we need more information. It definitely needs to be discussion of land use along with parks and trying to figure out. Of the 3, I think we should narrow it down to 2 before we ask for. The next.
And getting that input from staff. And, okay.
And council, I think that council needs to pick the final 2 sites.
And John Fitzgerald says in here that he likes the proximity to the schools for the skating for middle school kids, so I'm just saying, kids.
Okay. Any further discussion at the table?
I just, in relation to the 3rd site, I will say that has been, we have wayfinding signs up for actual parking there, it's downtown parking. You know, and regardless of, you know, I absolutely appreciate John's input, but, you know, there are football teams that practice there, so I'd be curious to see where.
September, October.
Yeah.
August.
August, yeah. So, you know, I'm not for junior high football tracks, so such, and how that would affect all of us, and there's more to be considered there. And contrary to popular belief, there are people that live right across the street from us, so it isn't in, you know, so nobody's neighborhood, there are people that live there as well, so.
He'd be telling them. That's the difference.
All right, any other discussion on this item from the council or suggestions about what you would like to see moving forward? Whereas we did not get, oh, go ahead, Councilmember Tupin.
Mostly, I want to thank everybody for actually providing information and insight, as well as the presentations. That is appreciated, and I appreciate the flexibility and the understanding of the process and the lack thereof of the process in some situations.
All right, thank you. Again, to the public, thank you for coming. Please stay tuned. Look online to the standing committee meetings, as well as the, again, guaranteed. Before a decision is made, you will see it on the lower half of the agenda. And then when council says, yes, move it up for action, we will then move it up for action, all of which will be posted. Given that we did not make it through our agenda, Robert's rules say that I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Are we adjourning that or are we doing?
No, because we made it through, we're just gonna adjourn the meeting and we'll pick it up next time. We'll just reassign all the action items.
Oh, okay.
So I have a motion to adjourn from Councilmember Root. Do I have a second? So I have a motion from Councilmember Root. Yeah, that's what you did. Sit down. On the action item of the agenda, I have a request that before we adjourn, that we assign accounts so we can get stuff ready for next week. You guys all have.
Please step out. We still have some business to
We still have a hearing. We're wrapping up here. So you're welcome to sit and observe or to go beyond the gates and hit the mark. But yeah. All right. All right. So discussion at the table in a quiet room. So the motion, our charter says that the mayor appoints the council meetings. However, I've reached out and asked the council president to make those assignments. Currently, what I have is admin and finance, Jody Ronning, Kelsey Cooper, and Jeremy Battle. Land use and planning, Kelsey Cooper, Jeremy Battles, and Cynthia Daniels. Public Works, Andrew, Jody Ronning, and Patty Davis. Public Health and Safety, Safety, Patty Davis, Andrew, and Cynthia Daniels. I will entertain a motion to accept, and then after a second, we'll have discussion. I have a motion from Councilman. I have a motion from Council Member Daniels to accept meetings and assign in a Senate from Council Member Tupin. Discussion at the table? Fine. Okay, go ahead.
This is not, I think the new rate, it's not going to work, right? Like,
No, we haven't got to that yet. All right, any other further discussion at the table? Can I get a roll call vote on the committee assignments, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
6-0, motion to establish the standing committee passes. I will entertain a motion about the new standing committee times. I have admin and finance at 7:30 a.m. on Monday to work for those council members. Land use and planning will be 4:30 p.m. on Monday going forward. Public Works at 5:30 p.m. on Monday. Public Health and Safety at 4:30 p.m. Tuesday. So that's 3 times. I have a motion from Council Member Rude to approve the proposed times and a second from Council Member Daniels. Discussion at the table.
Thank you.
Hearing none, can I just, wait, go ahead.
Chair for organizing this. I know I'm not. So, thank you.
All right. Hearing no further discussion at the table, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Davis? Yes. Honey? Yes. 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 You gotta have.
All right, 6-0. 6-0, motion to establish the committee times going forward passes. Is there back to the motion to adjourn? And
Can we do it on?
which, that's what I'm asking, was there anything else you would like to do?
The AI minute. So when people meet.
Oh, that's just, we don't have to do anything on that, we're already doing that.
Okay, so is it okay if they rely on those?
Yes.
I love it already. Okay, yeah, perfect. The next one. As Julie mentioned, sorry.
you're good.
If you have technical difficulties, at least one person will have to be ready to take minutes in the event of that.
Technical difficulties never happen.
Technical difficulties. So we're still.
All right, so there is a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting and second, any further discussion before we take action on that?
So we will continue the meeting next.
No, it's just a new meeting.
But we needed second readings on those too, so you have to.
No, it's not a continue, we just take action on, we just put them on the agenda, but we can also put other things on the agenda.
Okay. Okay. As long as you don't have.
So what we're doing, the motion on the floor is to adjourn the meeting prematurely because we did not complete everything and those things will be moved to the next agenda.
Just need a second.
Last chance, was there not a second? I thought I had a second from Council Member Daniels. Any further discussion, the tip, sit down, maybe it's not the, yeah. This is the one situation where I am the boss of you. All right, hearing none, can I get a roll call vote, please? On adjourning, when you do adjourning, you have to.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
6-0, motion to adjourn passes. So we will move any items that did not get addressed at tonight's meeting to the next agenda item. I declare the meeting closed and the bar open.